Welcome to Truth Be Known. Well, in the next couple of weeks, we have Valentine's Day, February the 14th. We're actually going to be talking about those relationships because that's what Valentine's Day is, all about relationships. But we're talking about the relationships where you feel like you are on eggshells. This is the type of relationships that you feel like you're loved, but then you're not. And maybe you feel like, well, you just don't even know how you feel anymore, because when you're in this type of relationship, you really don't even know who you are anymore. And we're going to be talking about narcissistic people. Now, I would say that the people who are narcissistic, and we're going to give that definition all throughout this podcast of what that actually means. I think they have an identity crisis where they just really don't know who they are. And this condition can be, generational, from generation. Maybe you see your parents like this, and so then you become the same way. Even though you say, I'm not going to be like my parents, well, eventually, sometimes you are. And it just may become, because with inner issues people have. And so they display their inner issues in different manners. And this is one of the manners that they have tendencies to display these things. And if you are ever around these people, you might not even know at the time. But eventually you'll say, there's something wrong. And I'm going to tell you what it is today. Because this is Truth Be Known. And so I'm going to give you some facts about this subject, but this is also truth. Now, I'm not coming to you and telling you these things because this needs to be known, which it does need to be known. However, I'm coming to you because I've had to deal with these people. And in having to deal with this in different situations, wow, you see very quickly when you have come upon another narcissistic person. So you have to be cautious, and I'm going to give you warning signs, and this is going to be your warning guide. So just keep it on hand so you can go back and say, oh, that's what that is. Most narcissistic people, they're fun to be around, and they carry a presence about them that draws people to them. These people are usually sweet and considerate, and they're looking out for your best interest, and they'll talk to you and they'll ask you lots of questions. And if you are a young woman that is in the dating world, these people will just make you fall in love with them because you're like, oh my gosh, there is no other man like this man. There's no other man that wants to know everything about me. Now, let me tell you, this is what happens up front in the beginning. They want to know everything about you. You spill out your heart, even things that you may not even want to tell them up front. You just do because they are so compassionate. And they are so thrilled to be with you. And they make you feel beautiful. And they make you just love who you are. That's how they are in the beginning. Let's make that clear. In the beginning, this is how they are, and they draw you to them in their presence because they just make you feel like you're the most wonderful person in the world. They may even go out of their way for you. They may do things special for you. Now, I'm not just talking about the ladies, because I'm also talking to men, because there are also women, narcissistic women. I'm not saying there's not. There's both, and they probably act the same way. And actually, some of these people can be married, and then they just feed off of each other, and then it's just one big mess. So we just need to remember, in every situation, just be cautious of who you are dating and pay attention to what they're saying, because that's one of the big red flags, is what they're saying. I have dealt with some people, and let me tell you the funny thing. It's not funny because, I'm thinking back to these things and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a red flag. But in the moment, you just think, oh my gosh, this guy is wonderful. He's so compassionate. And he's just crying his eyes out. Remember that. Crying his eyes out. Because why? Because he's so hurt that he had hurt someone. And so he's crying his eyes out because he's just hurt. Okay, well, that's great. Because for a woman, they're like, oh my gosh, he's so wonderful. He's compassionate. And so he's so loving and thinking about this other person. Oh gosh, watch out. So some tendencies that begin to happen when you're with a person like this is you are going to feel like you're walking on eggshells. You're not knowing how the other person is going to respond. You're not sure how or what mood that person's going to be in when you get home or when you go out. When issues are brought to the table, there's always an excuse of why it's happening, and it may be an apology. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't give you money, for the children because this and that. And then they're sorry, and so they apologize, and then it happens again, and then it happens again, and then it happens again. And it's just for anything. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't do this or whatever that they knew they should have done. And it's always an apology and then an excuse of why they didn't do it, but it's never really their fault of why. So the more things go wrong, the more things need to be dealt with. And what's going to happen is there are lots of things that continue to go wrong. And so you're wanting to make them right, and it just can't be. And narcissistic people have you believing that you are the one that caused this to happen. And at times, if you can't even remember doing something, because you probably can't because you probably didn't do it, even though they turn the tables and make you feel like you are the one that did this, then you start feeling like you're crazy, even though that is them that has done this. And so, but anyways, when you feel this way, you're starting to question yourself, and you actually believe their lie because you were in this so deep and you love this person so much. And sometimes it's not even that kind of relationship or a marriage relationship or anything like that. It could be any relationship. It could be your friend, and you can just not understand why in the world they're acting like this. Well, it's narcissistic, and it's an issue, and it's a problem. And they always want to be in charge of things. They want to control every situation that you're in. And the reason is because they are not in control of themselves for their own actions. So they want to be in control of everything. And then fear also comes into play in a narcissistic person because they're fearful. They want to be loved by everyone, but are very critical of everyone because they are fearful of what others think of them. And so they constantly make themselves feel better. They always talk about themselves. If you've done it, they've done it, and they've done it better. But they're always turning the tables around where you're not good enough. You just didn't do that right, and things like that. Narcissistic people are very jealous of others who are succeeding, and they will begin to talk negative about them. Maybe not even in that kind of fashion where it's just outright negativity. They might be talking about them to them. What I'm saying is to them, talking to them in a joking manner, as in when they speak to you, they're not really saying anything critical, but they're making a fun of you or they're poking at you. That's what I call it, poking at, where it makes you feel like, what? That's pretty much how it makes you feel. What are you talking about? Narcissistic people like to have high roles and high positions, and they like to be in a place of authority. Even if they're not in that place of authority, they act like they are in that place of authority because that's what they want. I mean, you learn quickly to not tell them anything specific in your life. Now, see, after you have already unloaded all that with that guy that you went on the first date with, you've already told him all your history. He's got a Rolodex, and he's writing all of this down because when they know your history, they're going to come back and they're going to use it against you. Now, before, when they first started meeting you, that was compassion and, oh, it's just so wonderful. But what happens in a narcissistic relationship is they turn the tables around and start using your information that you gave them, thinking that this person is going to protect me. They do not. They turn it around and make you feel like crap, and that you're the one that has caused all the problems, and it's you, it's not them, because they don't take responsibility for anything. They want to control and demand people to listen to them. They are constantly talking about themselves, even in places that aren't appropriate. I mean, you are talking about something totally different with a group of people or friends, a small group, and then this person just up and says something about themselves. That's inappropriate, and that's narcissistic, because they want the whole group to stop and listen to what they have to say about themselves. They like to tell information. If they know information about you, they like to tell that before you are able to. So if you don't want anybody else knowing, you better not tell them. Narcs are fear-driven. Although at times it sounds like it's love, it is not love. They are only out for one thing, and that's themselves. They just want themselves known. They want to be in control of the situation. And so they are fear-driven. Fear is mainly the root of narcissism. People who have this condition doesn't trust others, and they have often been rejected or hurt themselves in their past. And so if they haven't resolved those issues, then they begin to hoard those feelings inside, and guess what comes out? Those feelings that are on the inside, they come out, and it's not always good. And this is when they get in that place where they're thinking about themselves. And, people that are have depression and oppression is because they are always thinking about themselves. Think about that. If you've ever had depression, stop thinking about yourself. Stop thinking about your situation and this and that, your past. We blame so many things on our past when it's not our past. You have control over what you do today. And so you think about other people and just get up and go do something for somebody else. Stop thinking about yourself. And pretty soon, boom, that won't even be there. Now let's look with our own life and see issues that we might have unresolved. And these issues might be small issues, but then they become big issues if we don't take care of them. Because if you're a parent and you have these tendencies, then your child is going to think, oh, well, my mom could do that. Well, then I can do the same thing. And if you have children, I promise you, they're going to be watching you and your husband or your wife. And one of the big things is shift blaming. They never take responsibility when they have wronged another person for their own actions or mistakes. It's never their fault. And so they shift blame, which means they blame somebody else. Well, it's usually your fault. No, it's not my fault. I mean, every couple probably does that one time or another. It ain't my fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's my fault. So drop it, because it's nobody's going to get anything solved with that. Lying. They never tell the truth because they are in so much hurt and pain, and they just have all that on the inside of them. They don't want people to know who they really are, so they always are lying, and they lie for no earthly reason. I mean, it's usually people lie to stay out of trouble. Oh, no, I didn't do that. When you ask a question, but this is a total different thing. It's almost like a habit, and a very bad habit, but they lie because of no earthly reason. It's just in their generational family. They just was taught from their parents what their parents did, and so they just lie. Now, I'm not saying that they don't do things wrong and then lie about it, because that is their lifestyle. They always do that. And am I saying that maybe they're not always telling the truth on stuff? No, not in particular, but most of the time, if it's coming out of their mouth, it's probably a lie. And you might not even recognize it at first because you're thinking, oh, surely they're not lying to me. But as you gather evidence, which there's going to be a trail of things that you might have to search and come to find the truth, because they're not ever going to tell you the truth. And if they do, it's going to be your fault, and they'll turn the tables back at you. So I'm not saying that, I think they're always lying, but yes, they're doing things also behind your back and doing things wrong, and then saying that they're not. And one of the signs is, the third one is manipulation. They manipulate people by saying or doing something to get their way, or in a situation for someone else to do what they want them to do. Oh my goodness, that is a big one, because people just in general will, if you watch yourself, we might not even realize that we're doing that. But we need to stop and make sure we're not trying to get somebody to do what we want them to do. So the next one will be, I call it poking or jabbing. It's a kind of teasing that they do, but they're teasing because they are teasing to get back at you for something, or they're jealous of you for some reason. And so they do this jab or poke. And when people do that, you have to, we're realizing what the signs of narcissistic is. And so when you will know when people begin to do this, what they're doing and why they're doing it, and don't take it personally. We need to deal with this if someone is this way, but the jabbing, poking, whatever, lying, manipulation, I wouldn't say don't take it personally, because if they continue to do this, then you definitely need to seek help by someone that you trust. So I feel like this is an identity crisis. And some of the things that go with identity crisis reflect on what's on the inside of us. And this is what I had written down, because I feel like this is some of the things that come out. And it could be pride, fear, unworthiness, unloved, unappreciated, lack of forgiveness, lack of the God kind of love, and lack of trusting God. And these things, we can just ask the Lord to help us with these things. But what happens is we have all these things, and so it messes up our head, it messes up our attitude, and it messes up our character. And then we react to things that we don't need to be reacting to. And it's usually out of hurt. We're hurting people because we are hurt people, and we have not acknowledged it, or we have not been responsible for what we feel or what we have done. And so there's another word for that you, where you blame somebody else for your issues instead of taking responsibility. The problem, source, and solution start in the heart, and the mind simply serves the heart. I've got this offline from narcissistic, what it means in the Bible. And it means, it's called insolent pride. And that's what it is. It starts in the heart. The mind simply serves the heart. So that's one explanation of why they can appear to be self-contradictory by quickly taking the direct opposite position of something they said. You get mixed signals about what they're saying, because their heart's all screwed up. I guess that's a good way to say it. And so they really don't even know what they're saying. They're not even knowing what they're doing, basically because of what's in their heart. People who are casually around narcissists may only find them annoying. However, if you have ever been hurt by one, there's more to the annoyance. And it's something deeper than that. And it's an underlying evil. Now, narcissistic people don't typically see themselves as evil, and they usually find themselves to be, sweet, nice, whatever. Now, what are some things narcissists do to a person they feel threatened by? Well, first, they feel threatened 100% of the time by everyone. Even when they're laughing and act like they're enjoying themselves, they are constantly in fear of what people's going to see. And, people might actually see them as who they think that they really are. See, it's who they think they are, not who God has made them to be. People with narcissistic, they lash out with rage. They rash out at animals, which is kind of weird, but they insult, they blame, they shame, they disregard people's feelings. The real problem is they feel vulnerable to everyone all the time. And so, but since they can't do that all in public, they usually do it at their own homes and attack their wife or their husband or their children or whatever it is, not attack in violence. And sometimes it can get violent. I think could be demons involved when that happens, but usually it's they use their words, and I think it's called emotional abuse. But the people that are married to one, they're the ones that receive the brunt of all of the things. When other people are like, "Oh, he's such a charming person." Now, narcissists present themselves as charming, though. But charming can be evil. They appear to be evil. Now, this is a little story from a lady that says, "My best friend, no longer a friend. She chose my husband over me. She commented to me at how thoughtful my husband was when he took the coffee grinder into the laundry room to grind the coffee beans so as not to wake me. I laughed and told her he had done that all for her benefit, that in the 30 years he had never once done that for me. He used to turn the radio on in the kitchen to wake me up, or slam the garage door as he left in the morning, or turn on the lights when I was sleeping, all because he resented the fact I didn't get up when he got up. He didn't care that I had been up all night with our young son. When you ask them to be accountable, that is when they show their true selves, evil to the core. Mean to be mean, pathological liars, see, that must come along with it, and there's nothing honest about anything they say or do. The rages put you in your place, to put you under a thumb. They blame you to apologize for things you never said or did. The lies they tell get others to side with them. The financial abuse. I mean, if you're a woman and the husband's working in the home, sometimes they use the financial abuse, which make you endure to keep you bound to them. They talk about you for being so weak, but yet they want that weakness so they can have control over you. They fear you being better than what they are. They may even say things like, "Oh, that's so stupid," or "What a waste of time. Why are you wasting my money on that?" Anytime you do something worthy of acknowledgement or attention, they will dismiss it with a wave of a hand. They will never give you praise for your accomplishments. They will constantly belittle you and your efforts, all because of their need to triumph over you. Being in a relationship with a narcissistic person is just, it's unreal. Now I want to go over some questions with you just so that to see if you have these issues going on in your home, because some people are with a narcissistic person and they kind of dealt with it. And so, I mean, there's been some that have been married for years and years and years, and they just have dealt with each other, and maybe they feed off of each other also. But some people are in relationships and they just don't understand what the problem is. I can't understand why I'm not good enough. And that is so sad that they make you feel like you're not good enough or you can't do things good enough, and they want you under their thumb. And let me tell you, some of the narcissistic people that I've dealt with, they don't want to use their money. Now, they have their own job and they make money, but they don't want to use their own money for you. Now, they'll use their money for them, but they won't use their money for you. And that was a huge issue in one of mine relationships and marriage relationships. And these are the rules in a narcissistic home. And so if you want to know if you're in a narcissistic home, these are the rules. You prefer to be away from home than being at home. When you are going home, your gut clenches as if preparing for danger. because you never, ever know what's going to happen. When you're at home, you feel hyper-vigilant. When you're at home, you feel anxious. You have constant feelings of walking on eggshells. People in the household often suffer from obscure physical symptoms like mysterious rashes or chest pains. People in the household often experience recurring nightmares. People in the household sometimes feel their demonic presences at home. When visitors come, the narc is on his best behavior. Visitors tend to think the narc is a great person. However, if a visitor spends a lot of time at your home, they will start to see behind the narc's masks. No one matters in the household but the narc. People structure their routine to avoid the narc at home. This is often subconscious. The narc only talks about themselves. They are only interested in how the people at home can serve them. They like to keep track of people's movements, where they are and what they're doing. They expect you to do things for them when they ask, like, give me the remote, fix the computer. They have no patience. Nothing is ever their fault. When things go wrong, they shift blame to others in the household. They shout a lot. They're regularly explosive, and the mask drops all the time. The narc always puts you down and sometimes comes back around as a good guy to make things better. If there's one TV, the narc decides what to watch. They're very inconsiderate. It's just about every way possible. Where there is an important event like a birthday or graduation, they do something to make you feel bad and ruin the occasion. They make you feel you don't matter. And let me tell you, they don't like your birthday. They plan things so that you cannot plan nice things for your birthday. There's always something else to do so that you can't go and enjoy the day out for your own birthday. I don't know why that is. That's crazy. It's silly. You learn to accept that you don't matter. And you sometimes feel like you have lost your identity. And I want to tell you now that you can seek help. One thing is to get out of the relationship. If it doesn't get any better, and what happens is you don't want it to get violent. And when it gets violent, that's when you need to get away and get out of there. Because that is very dangerous for you and your children. And don't ever, ever, ever let anyone tell you that you are not worthy, and that you're not beautiful, and that you're not handsome, and that you're not good enough. Because God made you in His image, and He loves you so very much. And I promise you, there's someone out there that will love you unconditionally, and that will trust you and honor you and respect you. And you don't have to stay with that narcissistic person. And you can pray for them. And pray for yourself, because sometimes when you hang out with somebody like that, then some of those tendencies come back on you, and then you start acting out the same way, and nothing ever gets solved. And so if you can, even seek Christian counseling, someone that you can trust to talk to. But basically, Jesus, He is the truth. He is the only way that you will ever make it. And this is Truth Be Known.